Welcome back to Everyday Executive, where I use my experiences and opinions to give you tips and tricks to get the career and the life of your dreams. In today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about my journey and how I was a nurse and I was a director of nursing, and I decided to kind of take a step back from management for a couple of years. And I was re entering the management workforce again, and what that looked like, and give you some tips and tricks as to how maybe if you're looking to get back into a management career or in today's workforce, what that could look like for you. So, in my case, again, we'll kind of recap. I'm a nurse and I'm a CEO now, and so I got my trade as a nursing, in which I got experience on that. And I pretty rapidly, pretty quickly then became the director of a nursing organization. And I found that, I had my first child and I was in my low 20s. I was 24. And I decided that I couldn't do at that time, or wasn't giving my all to management, which is a 24/7 career, as we all know. And so I took a step back for a couple of years. I had a second child, and I found that the soft skills of my reputation in the past really mattered in this case. So I was asked to apply again for a director of nursing position again at the same organization system, but it was in a hospital system that I had left prior a couple of years ago. They were looking for that position and they had asked me if I'd be interested. And I kind of reflected on that and thought, yeah, I had two small children at the time, but I was ready. I was ready to get back into that and give my all to it again. And so if you don't underestimate those soft skills. If you haven't don't understand the importance of soft skills, take a look at this video that we did last week on how soft skills matter so much when you're looking at furthering your career. But one of the things, again, was, I had networked prior. And so that also mattered. My reputation mattered, my positive energy mattered. And so I was asked again to come back. And I was really lucky that at this time I really had a great mentor that really mentored me along the way. And but I wasn't the newbie anymore, right? And in your case, if you're looking to get back in the workforce, you're not the newbie either. You've already had a trade, you already have some experience under your belt. Yes, maybe you took a couple of years off for one reason or another, or maybe you changed career paths for a couple of years. But you still have that experience that you can rely on. You still have knowledge that you can rely on. Be confident in that. Be confident in your experience, be confident in your knowledge, but also eager to learn. And I think that's a key point. Be really eager again to learn. If you don't have a mentor, and in my case, it was my CEO, then see if you can find one. And if you can't find one, again, learn in other ways, whether it's watching videos like this, whether it's reading educational books in your industry. Don't stop the part of learning. In my case, I still just had my associates of nursing. And so I felt it was important at that time, and in discussion with my mentor, that I get my formal education, a more formal education of my bachelor's and then my master's. So I did continue to work full time as a director, and I started my education, continued my education pathway into my bachelor's and my master's. And with that, luckily, I was able to apply my experiences into my education. So, as you're learning, you really can start to relate the education that you're learning with real life experience, and vice versa. I felt like the formal education of my bachelor's and my master's really fine tuned me as a director and kind of was the cherry on top. So, you really do need, if you're going to go beyond a certain level, you really do need both, in my opinion. You need the formal bachelor's, master's education, and you need that experience to complement each other. I was lucky enough that I had a CEO who really promoted me to the executive position while I was in school. So I was able also to learn how to manage people in different ways, how to be more of an executive level thinker. And with that, I would say was another lesson: be very solution oriented. And what I mean by that is, if you are the type of person who, when things get tough, when things get challenging, that you immediately call your boss to let them know, to update them, maybe to ask them for a solution, I would ask you to pause, take a breath, and find three solutions to that current problem to get you through. One might be just a band-aid solution to the problem, meaning you just need to get through whatever's happening at that immediate moment. And there might be a second, maybe longer term solution that you need further discussion with your boss to maybe implement some changes on. How does that help you? Well, for one, it's going to help you be solution oriented because when you're the executive, you're kind of the person that the buck stops with, right? So it's giving you experience in being that person to come up with good, solid solutions. It also is not bothering, your boss, whether they're in a meeting at the time that you want to call them, or maybe they're off. Um, they're going to appreciate the fact that they can trust you to handle those challenging situations, at least in the immediate moment. And then you can sit down with them and say, hey, this is what we did immediately. Maybe that's the solution you do moving forward. Or here's some resources that we might need to fix this solution in the future. So I would also say be very solution oriented. Next, I would say, you got to have that grit, you got to have that integrity. So stick with it, but stick with it. Don't lose sight of what's your values and what's important to you. But sticking with something really will also teach you long term grit. Too often, I think that we kind of just want to, and when things get really tough or we feel very overwhelmed, we just kind of want to say, oh, I'm done. I'm done with this. What I would say is, again, take a pause, take a breath, maybe take a day off if you need to. Think through, how do I problem solve this with small little bites and pieces and goals? So, you can't boil the ocean, you can boil one pot at a time. So break down that problem and boil your one pot, fix one part of the solution. What you'll find is you'll get momentum moving and the problem doesn't seem so big anymore. So I really started to apply that with I'll call it not fun work or the tough work. And this is where I would say be a yes person. So too often, I think our immediate reaction when we get asked to do maybe a project that's not popular, maybe a project that nobody wants, maybe none of your peers want, be that person that steps up and says, I'm going to do that. It looks challenging, but I can get this done. I can do this. And so in that scenario, be that person that takes on those projects, and that yes person that will help you. Again, one, you're going to learn how to problem solve even more. Number two, you're going to be noticed by your one-ups or your bosses for that next part of your career. And you'll find that when you get through a tough project, the reward and purposeful feeling that you get from that really will move you forward into the next one. Because learning through tough times really helps you grow as an executive in your career. So be that yes person. Now, having said that, being yes doesn't mean that you're not productive in those projects. So, really think about the projects that you're on and the things that you're doing and what is adding value to your goals and what isn't. For example, in my case, I had two small children. I was in school full time again for my master's and then my bachelor's and my master's. I was working full time in a pretty high stress job, and I was pregnant and having my third child. So a lot was going on, right? But I really prioritized my family, my spirituality, and my job. Those three things came first. Anything else that came after that just couldn't happen. So maybe my house wasn't as neat. I wasn't on any PTA meetings at school, if you will. I was buying the cookies from that were pre-baked and bringing them to my children's school functions. But what I did prioritize again was my spirituality, my faith, my family, and my work. So I took on those tough projects that helped me feel purposeful and helped me further my career and my goals in my career path. So when you say yes, it's not yes to everything. It's saying yes to the things that really matter to you and the goals that you've set for yourself. If you would like to see a video on how to balance those things, how to balance, your personal life and a full-time professional life, please comment below, and I'm happy to do a video on that if you find that would be beneficial. Also, again, don't miss those opportunities to be noticed. One of the opportunities that I did not realize was going to be an opportunity is I was asked to come in and do a tour for some executives and to discuss a project that I had done with them I just thought it was an everyday tour. They were just visiting. What I did not know is this actually was the introduction to where I'm at today as a CEO. So you're always on stage. And I would say whether you're on your personal or your professional, really be reflective of how you are portraying yourself. This would be something else that I kind of learned and made some mistakes on that, if you're coming into work disheveled or you're not maybe wearing and dressing to the standards that your organization would expect, I would ask you to look at that too, because you're always on stage and you never know when the next opportunity will come your way to further your career. So, with that, next time, thank you for joining me. Next time, we're going to talk about how do we really manage team as an executive? How do I get that? What are those steps that we need to do to manage a team to get the best results that we need? If you have any questions or comments, please email everydayexecutivepodcast@gmail.com. Give this a like, make a comment below, and we'll see you real soon. Thank you.
Opinions and experiences expressed on this podcast are solely those of the host and do not express the views or opinions of past or current employers. The opinions and experiences should not be considered professional advice and is not necessarily indicative of future results.